intro. What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. A bit of a false start, but we're here. We have got some big breaking news coming out of Germany. I guess you can call it. But Tottenham looks set to have completed their first signing under Thomas Frank. The Frank era is up and running. Apologies, my hay fever has been really struggling with me today. So if I look, I'm a bit dazed and I look a bit out of it. It's the hay fever. There's nothing else, I assure you, just the hay fever. I'm here with Brian Daigle to discuss what could be a massive signing for Tottenham Hotspur. Mathys Tel. Looks like Tottenham have agreed a £35 million, 35 million euro deal for Mathys Tel to sign permanently from Bayern Munich, and he is set to be Thomas Frank's first signing as Tottenham manager. I've got the tweets here. Fabrizio Romano has given the here we go. He is saying that Mathys Tel will leave Bayern and join Spurs on a permanent deal for 35 million euros. Obviously, that's on top of the 10 million euro loan fee we paid them in January. Tel is set to stay at Tottenham, also under new coach Thomas Frank. He says more on the Tel deal. The player has also accepted the contract conditions to stay on a permanent deal. Club-to-club agreement almost done, 35 million euros, and 5 million in add-ons as well. Plettenberg jumping in saying Mathys Tel's on the verge of joining Tottenham on a permanent deal. As always planned, Thomas Frank wants to keep him. Advanced negotiations between Bayern and Tottenham are also reported by Bild. Spurs will pay 35 million fixed fee plus in addition to the 10 million loan fee that we paid on a long-term deal. And Fabrice Hawkins is reporting that he will sign a 6-year contract at Tottenham in a permanent deal. Obviously, we saw him for 6 months when he signed in January. We've already seen him play for Spurs. He's played 19 games, scoring 3 goals, getting 1 assist in that time. A lot of fans, I should say, have been unsure whether we should be taking up this option. Obviously, it looks like we've renegotiated that original fee that was agreed in January, which I think was, but I think the original was like 60 million, wasn't it? And I think it was 50 million plus the 10 million loan fee. So I think that was a 60. And now we've obviously looks like we've renegotiated it down to about 30, so 35. So Levy has been up to his old tricks again with the renegotiations. But look, fair play. I think he's got a fairly good price for a very talented 20-year-old. Obviously, if I told in January, if I said we were going to be signing Mathys Tel for this price, I think everyone would have been ecstatic. Now we've seen him for 6 months. A lot of people have been like, is he that good? Why are Bayern letting him go? A lot of people are unsure about him. But I think we've got a very talented young forward who I also think Thomas Frank is going to be licking his lips about what his potential, and looking at what he did with Kevin Sade and Mbeumo. I really think he's going to be thinking I could really get the best out of Mathys Tel, and it's an exciting deal from that point of view. But Brian, what's your view on?
Yeah. Do you know, Joe? Let's review his time with Ange Postecoglou. First of all, he looked a little bit lost, phased in and out of games, wasn't very consistent, but didn't offer the hype that everyone was thinking he was coming in. So I can see where, and I was one of them saying if Ange is here, I can't see it working for Mathys Tel. Now, as it's well known, I've been very over the moon. I've been absolutely ecstatic with Thomas Frank's appointment. And the reason that I'm delighted with Thomas Frank is that he plays multiple systems and he has a track record for developing players, him and his coaching staff, and especially the assistant manager who does it extraordinarily well with youth. So we've got a manager that is going to play different systems and develop youth, and a lot of people have used that as his strong points. And then as soon as one comes through the door, and because it's Mathys Tel, there seems to be uproar. I'm going back on the viewpoint that yes, he needed to do a lot better than he did under Ange Postecoglou, but Thomas Frank plays multiple systems. Thomas Frank will be able to get the best out of him. Whether that will be good enough, we'll see, but he has the track record for developing youth. He will be playing a various amount of systems, and maybe Frank can develop like he has Mbeumo, Visser, Damsgaard, Watkins, Konza, and I can go on and on with players. Yes, if he comes back to being the player he was last season, it's going to look like money that wasn't wisely spent. But if Thomas Frank can do what Thomas Frank does, it's going to be money very well spent. So we'll have to see what develops there. But I've seen people as well liking it, saying under Ange Postecoglou last window, the first player we signed was Timo Werner, and it set the stall for an ongoing window. Well, Timo Werner was awful in his first stint and also was a guy that had been on the decline for a very, very long time. This is a guy who's in an under-21 squad, has got so much development inside him. And if it doesn't work, he's on a 6-year contract that we can sell for a much bigger fee. So, yes, it's not the first signing we wanted, like an Mbeumo, an Eze. But I think I'm standing, like I said, I'm going to stand by my manager. I loved him for the very specific reason of developing talent. And I think he can develop Tel.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think lots of people obviously very quick to write players off and very quick to say they're not good enough or whatever. This is a guy who's obviously, he came to the club at 19, he's now 20, but he's a young player who's not had that much game time, even for Bayern this last season, coming into a struggling club who were decimated with injuries and all these different things, having to play up front. He made his debut at Anfield, remember, playing up front against people like Van Dijk and all these kind of players. And it was always going to be a difficult process. Even coming into a settled team, players of his age can take time to settle in and take time to settle into a new league, new team, teammates, all these different things. And I think even within that, yes, he did have his struggles. I think I think no one can deny that he struggled in his 6 months at Tottenham. But I also think we saw flashes of quality, and I also think it wasn't all bad. And I also think he did have good games. And I think big games like Frankfurt away, stepped up, played really well. There was I think he was playing when he was playing with our first 11. I think he looked a lot better. Obviously, a lot of the time he was playing basically in our B team when the Premier League games didn't mean much. And when he originally came, when he was starting games in important games, he was playing in teams that were tired, decimated with injuries, and it was a struggle for him to show his best form, I think. But I think, given now he's had that time to settle in, clearly, look, the club, the coaching staff, and they've seen what he's been like behind the scenes on the training ground. And I think they're clearly convinced that this guy has a lot of potential. People forget what he was showing at a young age at Bayern when he was breaking onto the scene. He was hyped about. A lot of people were talking about him. I think he's a good character. I think he's settled in really well with the squad. I think he's very liked, clearly, and he's happy at Tottenham and is really kind of obviously winning that trophy, being part of that team has made him grow closer quite quickly. But I think he's clearly very well liked within the dressing room and all that kind of stuff. And I think there's quality there. I think you just got to give him a bit more of a chance. And it's you're looking at that kind of deal. It's a good fee for a player of his age and quality and potential. I think this is a transfer. I reckon it's a transfer where at the end of the season we're going to be talking about a bargain. I think, in my opinion, that's the feeling I get with it. I know people are skeptical. I know we've been burnt many times with similar kind of deals, like in Kudu and in G and Werner. Even you could say like players who no one's been convinced by, and we've put money on it, and people are thinking, is this going to be another one of those kind of signings? I think this guy has got serious potential. I think he's going to grow into a top player. We have to work out where his best position is. Is it left wing? Is it forward? Even right wing? All these kind of things. I think maybe he hasn't worked out yet for himself. But I think if I look at his profile, he's very similar to maybe a Sade, how he kind of plays. And Frank has been able to get the best out of someone like him, who came into Brentford from signing from the Championship, and he was a player I think also had his struggles before Frank really got a hold of him, and now he's scoring kind of goals for fun in the Premier League. He's very good at working out how to best use his forward players. He's done that with Wissa, he's done it with Bremo, he's done it with Sade, and I think he's going to do it with Mathys Tel. And I think it's a good way to start the window. I think he's one who's really going to develop. I'm really confident. But it does leave question marks. The question marks are, obviously, we were hearing reports about Manuel Solomon wanting to potentially stay at Tottenham and prove himself. I mean, does this signing allow for that? At the moment, unless someone like Son's leaving, does Solomon, does that mean his time is very much up if we're making that signing? as well. Definitely question marks around definitely going into next season. A lot of people saying what we really need is not potential. We need players who are ready to step in right now and perform, and we need players who step up in Champions League and be ready. Does this signing represent that? I guess there's definitely a question mark surrounding that. And also, what does that in terms of our budget? Does that mean there's going to be less money to sign a big signing like an Mbeumo or an SL, something like that? I guess there's question marks. So those questions have to be answered. But I think on the face of it, to get Tel for 35 million euros is a good deal, and I'm really confident that he's going to turn into a really good player for us.
Like I said, I have full confidence in Thomas Frank. I have full confidence. I completely agree. I'm one of them that want experience. I'm one of them that definitely want experience at this football club. But we've still got till September to get them in. Yes, I want them in before pre-season. Yes, I want them in before we kick a ball in the Premier League. But there is time. I think what you said with Solomon, I think Solomon, this could be the exit door for him personally. But like we said, Thomas Frank will play him in a host of positions. Really will. I agree. The money may have been able to go elsewhere. All of that will be we'll be able to digest in September once the window has gone. Is it the first signing people wanted to see? No. Do I think he's with a manager that can get the best out of him? You've got to remember, he does very well for France in the under-21s. He seems to be doing very, very well there. Yes, he's got a lot of talent around him, but we'll see. I am, like I said, I don't know how many times I'm going to say it this season or even this video. I am fully confident of Thomas Frank's ability to develop anyone. So let's see what the real Mathys Tel can do under Thomas Frank.
Yeah, and I just think people are so quick to write off young talent and so quick to say they're not good enough or say that they shouldn't be signed or all these different things. I think this guy was before we signed him, a lot of people calling him one of the most exciting young talents in Europe. And I know for one, I don't know what happened last season with Bayern, and for whatever reason, I don't know, they decided to let him go. But look, big clubs, they do make mistakes. They do. They've let a lot of Madrid buy. They do let go of talent. They let go of some really good players. Not long ago, Bayern were just giving away Gravenberch to Liverpool after only one season, and look at what he's turned out for them.
Yeah.
So it happens. Chelsea back in the day let go of De Bruyne and Salah when they were young. And because for one reason or another, I don't know whether they thought they weren't good enough or they just wanted to leave because they needed more playing time, but they let them go. And look at how good those two players turned out to be. So just because Bayern are willing to let him go and for one reason or another, they're happy to sell him, doesn't mean that he's not a good player all of a sudden. And doesn't mean, if they're willing to let him go, it must mean because he's rubbish. I don't subscribe to that. I think we've seen him already at the club, and we've seen what he's capable of, and clearly we believe this is the right move. And apparently, I'm just reading Plettenberg say that Thomas Frank is fully behind this signing. That's what the word is coming out of the club. Obviously, they kind of have to say that, but I think that's kind of the wording at the moment. So I really believe this is going to be a really positive signing for us, and I think I reckon we'll see a much better Mathys Tel next season.
I think that's what we'll see. I think just another couple of things as well. One thing you got to admire with Mathys Tel last season, obviously, when he went into the crowd after the Fulham poor result, he wasn't one to shy away. He literally went in to talk to the fans, which shows good character for me, that he had the confidence to just go in there and stand up and speak for the team. Obviously, that's an attribute that can't be taught at such a young age. And also, one thing we've got to look at as well, we're looking at it is, why by getting rid of him, there must be a problem. We're unfortunately, unlike Tottenham Hotspur, Bayern Munich are a juggernaut. And Bayern Munich and other clubs sell their talent when they can get top whack for them. If they're not going to be used, they sell them. It's not like us to overprice them and just let them rot till their contract goes down and we're begging for scraps. If they think a player's got no future at the club, they're like, right, let's cash in whilst he's young, or why he commands a fee, and get rid of them. Is the fee going to be contested by Spurs fans? Most definitely. Is the signing? Most definitely. But if Thomas Frank, like I said, has come out and said it, I think we see a better him. And like you said, with everyone saying there's got to be something wrong if they're letting him go, What about he's a young talent? They don't see a future for him, just like Manchester City did with Cole Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying he's Cole Palmer, but they're like, you've not got a future. We're going to cash in for you. Got 42.5 million for him, and they're probably kicking their teeth right now, saying, "What the hell have we done?" So I'm not saying it's going to be that way. I'm not saying he's going to be like you said, like Salah and De Bruyne, but other clubs get rid of their talent when they're not going to use them to command a high price, and that's what Bayern Munich has done here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I don't think just because they're willing to let him go as a reason not to be interested in him or anything. Or so I think this could be a potentially really exciting signing. And as I said, I know obviously we've seen him for 6 months, and maybe that's got people thinking this guy is no good. And I get, seeing him with your own eyes is better than thinking about the potential of when we signed him in January. But everyone was super excited in January about the potential signing, and I know the 6 months hasn't gone to plan, but for me, that doesn't change the talent that this guy is. I think he's a serious talent, and I think I think he's going to be a very good player for us. I'm confident. I'm really confident about that.
There we go. Like we said, I think what we've got to look at as well is we will be playing in multiple systems under Frank. So maybe there is a role that wasn't being used with him with Ange that he will be used it with Thomas Frank, and we could see him shine.
Absolutely, and that's absolutely right. I think he'll find a home on the left. I think if we do play like a 3-5-2, I think up front with a partner like a Solanke, I think he could do wonders with that as well. I think there's I think he's I reckon the older he gets, he might morph into more of a striker than a winger. I think right now he's not physical maybe enough to be that number 9, like the sole number 9, and maybe he's a bit better on the wing where he's got a bit more space to play in. But I think potentially as he gets older, as he matures, and as he kind of gains a bit more physical presence, I reckon he could definitely be a number 9 because he's actually got a really good leap. He's good in the air. Just needs to get a bit stronger so he can start holding off defenders and things like that. But I think he's a good finisher. He's got a good strike on him. I think both footed as well. I think he's going to turn into a good forward, but right now I think his best position will be off the left.
Yeah, it'll be like you said, if he's playing off Solanke, he'll go back to the old days and the old school of big man, small man. I've got to love one of those parts. Some of those partnerships are devastating. I miss strike partnerships, to be honest. So maybe there will be one forged there.
All right, well, look, that is the news. Mathys Tel got the here we go from Fabrizio Romano. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on this signing. Is it a good deal for Tottenham? Are you happy? Or do you think it's a waste of money? Do you think this money could be better spent elsewhere? I want to know all your opinions in the comment section below, but that is the latest on the Mathys Tel situation. We'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you.